Back live on Inside the Bunker with Tom Cooper. We've got Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni also with us in the studio. Quickly taking you through where all Iran has actually hurt the Americans. They cleared out their bases outside other than essential personnel. But if you were to see, in Erbil, the airbase has been attacked. US security troops have been attacked because the proxies have been activated. Kuwait, the Ali Al Salem air base has been attacked. In Bahrain, the US 5th Fleet, so that they will get really affected because that entire base communications has been disrupted and demolished. That's what the Iranians are claiming. UAE, Al Darfa air base, Qatar, the Al Udeid air base. All these air bases have been targeted by the Iranians because they have said that we are targeting the American installations from where they are mounting attacks on us, and it's not attack on the sovereign nations where US has these air bases. Will these nations buy this? And affecting or hitting these air bases, is this going to push the US assault back, Tom? Quick comment. Or would the US have already gamed this possibility?
Principally, these countries can't simply side an alliance, including Israel. And that is the biggest problem for them, on one hand. On the other hand, there is the issue of coordination between armed forces. Arguably, armed forces of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Emirates, Oman, and so on, they're all trained, in Saudi Arabia, of course, they're all trained in the United States, all flying US-made aircraft. Some are flying European aircraft as well, but generally their training is the same. The procedures are the same. Right. But there are lots of, and we have seen this over Kuwait yesterday, the 3 F-15 shot down. This is not enough. You have to coordinate the methods and additional procedures, so to say.
General Kulkarni?
See, what happens is, we must grant that the US would have defended its bases. There's no denying the fact.
Right.
But the fact that the Iranians have not just attacking the US bases, but they now started attacking the assets of these Arab states will create problem for Iran. The Iranians are Persians and they're Arabs. So there was century-old
animosity
between the Arabs and the Persians. And hence, now the Iranians need to be careful. You start hitting the assets or created by the wealth of the Arabs,
right,
and denying them hereinafter prosperity. I think Iran might just be finding it very difficult because the Americans will support their bases. The Americans and the Israelis will support this West Asian nation.
Right.
And after the Abraham Accord, there is a sort of a peace between Israel and some amongst them. And therefore, Iran now needs to be careful not to target the Arabs anymore.
Right. We've got more news coming through. The news is that the Canadian embassy has shut down in Riyadh. So in Saudi Arabia, the embassy of Canada has shut down. They have closed due to security reasons. So clearly now the Saudis are thinking that this Iran will try and escalate it because they feel amid strikes, Canada has closed the embassy due to security reasons. So no emergency visas, nothing is going to be issued. People will want to go out. That's not happening. So jo jahan hai wo wahin raho, in the sense that that's the kind of message that's coming. But this also means that in Saudi Arabia, if you were to look at this region, Riyadh is not quite deep into Saudi Arabia. But despite that, if the Canadians are shutting down their embassy, Tom, what does that mean? Are we then expecting the Iranians to attack?
I consider this a routine measure. So Riyadh is here, and well within range of both Iranian UAVs and ballistic missiles. So I consider this as a cautionary security or safety measure from Canadians. I'm waiting to see what are the Americans going to do. Are they going to close their embassy as well or not? This is unlikely to happen, but who knows?
Now, does that also mean that nations are now saying that there is a lot of heft that the Iranian military and firepower has, especially the ballistic missiles, that then doubles the pressure on the Americans and the Israeli that they have to neutralize their silos? If they are not able to kill their silos and also their dumps, the ammunition dumps or the missile storage facilities, and nip them in the bud, this is going to last quite long.
Of course, there's a lot of, on both sides, there's a lot of movement in the background at the diplomatic scene. On one hand, the Israelis in particular, but also Americans are trying to convince additional European allies, not only European, all the way to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, to convince them to join, to create an alliance, and then now all are going to fight Iran on behalf of Israel, de facto, and the United States. On the other hand, the Iranians say, okay, come on over, we don't mind, we are going to fight all of you.
So in terms of psychologically,
it is, Iranians, is particularly IRGC, they are extremely stubborn. They're not going to give up just like that. They are going to fight and fight and fight. And even if they spend all of their ballistic missiles or all of these are destroyed, they are going to find other means to fight.
Okay, I just quickly wanted to ask you this. The proxies, where do you think the proxies are going to get active? Sorry. Where are the proxies going to hurt? Yeah, where are the proxies going to hurt?
So, firstly, you have to zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
So, here we are. Proxies, firstly, we have the Houthis in this part of Yemen.
Yeah.
They are holding this part of Yemen, the Houthis. Including the capital Sana'a and their own capital Sada. So they are going to, they have announced, was it now, that was 2 nights ago, that they are going to start striking Israel. Then we have the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon has already started attacking Israel.
Right.
So
then there is activity in Iraq also.
In Iraq we have Hezbollah. They are holding something like this. They are actually something like Hezbollah Iraq. And they have their own UAVs and not ballistic missiles, but tactical rockets. So they can all add to the carnage. They are certainly going to start.
This is the Hezbollah. Yeah. This is the Houthis.
And he is Hezbollah.
Hezbollah. Okay. The Hamas have kept quiet so far because they are virtually reduced to rubble.
Look, Hamas is Sunni movement foremost, not Shia. Unlike, for example, Hezbollah.
So they will not attack the Sunni nations.
So, well, it is not about attacking Sunni nations. It's about Hamas is foremost insurgency against Israeli occupation. So they don't have any kind of business in a clash between Israel and Iran.
Iran, okay. So these are the 3-4 proxies which are getting active in this region.
This is perfectly enough, I would say.
All right. Yeah. So we got limited time. What we're going to do is, now this is what's happened. I told you when we come back from the break, we are going to try and refocus on another region, and that's this region. So let's come back here and understand what's happening here, especially with this nation, Pakistan. What's happened is India has, and Manoj Kumar Gupta getting this, Daniel Scheinman has also put us the map, that India is doing an exercise in this region and there is a NOTAM that's been issued in this region. So there is NOTAM that's issued here. What happens with the Pakistanis who are fighting over the Durand line? There is activity in Balochistan. They are supposed to send support for the Saudis and they are worried about this NOTAM. Yes, Tom Cooper and then General Kulkarni.
What happened? First, the Durand line itself. And before I speak on the Durand line, let's work on that. There is going to be electronic suppression. And this electronic suppression is going to cause problem to the IRGC also. Remember that. Because much that now most of these people over there are going to be on their own. But talking about Pakistan and India and talking about Afghanistan and Pakistan, the Durand line, the 2,700 kilometers Durand line, 1,400 kilometers runs along Balochistan.
Correct.
And the rest of it is with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They have a 900-kilometer line boundary of Balochistan with Iran.
Yeah, this is the Baloch boundary with Iran. This is the Baloch one.
This is Balochistan. And therefore, Balochistan has been logistically sustained from Iran. It is not being sustained from Pakistan. So Balochistan has a problem. That's the problem between Balochistan and Pakistan.
Balochistan, there is a major insurgency against Pakistan. And in Pakistan, there is the insurgency of the Pakistani Taliban.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then Pakistan is at war with the Taliban in Afghanistan, additionally. So Pakistan is right now at war, at least from their point of view, in this direction, and of course, they always hold a strong portion of their army along the border to India. And
now they are also supposed to airlift and send support towards Saudi Arabia and conduct, exercises here. Interesting that they are supporting Iran, but giving security collaboration with Saudi Arabia.
So, and promising bases if necessary to the United States.
It's a catch-22 situation. They don't know which side of theirs has now got to be covered because they've had very badly from Balochistan. They're having bad times with Tehrik-e-Taliban, Pakistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They are not Saudi deal has put them in a fix with Iran. So Pakistan really doesn't know, and I'm sure America would want a pound of flesh from Pakistan.
Yeah, we've got this footage. This is where the India NOTAM area is, not so far away from Rahim Yar Khan. This is the NOTAM, that airspace reservation that's been announced by the Indian Air Force for a joint exercise. What do you think is the intent behind this, Tom?
Well, to run an exercise.
Yeah, but...
And Pakistan, just to remind them that India is still here. It's as simple as that. Nobody wants to provoke. I mean, I know the Indian government, how it operates, or at least understand it. I don't not say that I know it in person or something. But I understand the way it operates. And in this situation, it just remains Islamabad. Guys, we are watching what are you doing over there, and now we are going to run an exercise because we have the right to do so.
Yeah, and they're running an exercise in this portion here.
Yes.
In this portion, that's where the exercise is. The Pakistanis, meanwhile, are conducting sorties and exercises here.
Yeah.
They are getting active in this region.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they are conducting activity in this region. They are stretched here, they're stretched here, they're stretched here, they're stretched all over the place. There is also internal strife that is happening with the Shia population. What do you think is going to be the impact of this conflict on this nation and this region? Do you think there is going to be trouble in Balochistan? The Baloch are going to get...
Explain this way. Let me start with the start in Pakistan.
Okay.
Pakistan is broke.
Okay.
Bankrupt. Okay, and this is not since yesterday, but for some 50 years, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, at least. Okay. What was it? 24 IMF programs in Pakistan and something like that. Okay. Now, the newest invention, so to say, in Pakistan was to prompt the Chinese to invest and borrow $120 billion to Pakistan. So,
out of 195 countries in the world virtually, there are almost 45 countries which are sucked into this battle, with 32 in NATO, with 12 almost over here, and Afghanistan and Pakistan. So just these 45 countries involved today in some way or the other.
One way or the other involved. So now Pakistan is broke. And they have this huge bill, and the Chinese want their money back. They say, hey, sorry, but we are not giving your money, our money to you just like that. So Pakistan depends on IMF, which means on Trump's agreement
USAID and
to
America.
let IMF pay Pakistan, give Pakistan money so it can pay back Chinese credits. So this is a silly situation. This in turn means Islamabad is going to do whatever brings money in order to stay liquid. And if the Saudis say, hey, we are going to pay you 5, 10 or some whatever billions in order for you to send a brigade of armed forces, yes, they are going to do that. This is the point, and this is how they think and how they act.
But their nation's prime minister has endorsed support to Iran. And its nation's military is going to support and send military aircraft, including JF-17 and, of course, AWACS and maybe an oil tanker on top to help the Saudis fight the Iranians. So the civilian government says we are with you, Iran. The military says we are going to fire at you, Iran. So that's what is the nature of Pakistan. Well, that's all we have time for packing in this edition of Inside the Bunker with Tom Cooper. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, thank you very, very much. And on that note, viewers, we're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Shivani Gupta. Let's begin with a quick check of the top stories we're tracking. West Asia war enters day 4 as Iran continues widespread missile and drone strikes across Gulf cities and at US-Israeli targets. US President Donald Trump issues fresh warning to Iran, says the United States is shocked and ready to win big. As the West Asia war intensifies, Israel Defense Forces claim to strike Tehran's air defense personnel who were attempting to target Israeli forces. High-resolution satellite images show clear damage at Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura oil refinery after Iranian one-way attack drone struck, triggering fires and a precautionary shutdown. Iran claims to have destroyed main command headquarters at US base in Bahrain. US Central Command says American forces have destroyed all 11 Iranian naval vessels in the Gulf of Oman as part of strikes, reducing Tehran's fleet to 0. 2 Iranian drones struck the US Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, sparking a small fire and minor damage, no casualties reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war with Iran will be quick and decisive, not an endless conflict, asserting joint US-Israel strikes aim for swift, overwhelming military success. And Sonia Gandhi slams Prime Minister Narendra Modi's silence on Khamenei assassination, calling it an abdication rather than neutrality. So even as we track the latest as far as this war is concerned and the killing of Iran's former supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, opposition in India has sharply questioned the government's stance or silence on this particular issue. Opposition leaders, including from the Indian National Congress, have said that speaking out is not neutrality but an abdication of responsibility. Sonia Gandhi wrote in an editorial that silence now undermines India's moral grounding and stressed that the country must stand for sovereignty, peace and clarity in its foreign policy. The opposition pressed the centre to articulate its position. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, has underscored the need for restraint, diplomacy and peace in the region, reflecting India's traditional foreign policy emphasis on de-escalation. The conflict in West Asia has spiraled into a perilous new phase, with both Iran and the US-Israel coalition intensifying strikes and making dramatic claims of major attacks across land and sea. I want to go across to CNN's Paula Hancock, who's joining us live from Dubai. First up, Paula, I would like to get an understanding from you. So many of the Gulf countries and cities coming under attack. Do we have any sense of what is the conversation that is ongoing between these countries and US and Israel as we speak?
Well, Shivani, we know that they all had a virtual meeting on Sunday to create this coordinated verbal response to what was happening. They have been showing that there is unity across the Gulf nations. They talked about the reckless and irresponsible behaviour from Iran, and there is real anger among these Gulf nations that they have come under attack, despite the fact that before this started, many of them had said that the US military was not allowed to use their bases, that they weren't allowed to use their airspace to carry out an attack, and they had been lobbying for diplomacy rather than war. But that has not insulated them from the retaliation from Iran.
We've seen widespread disruptions as far as flights were concerned, but some resumption of that from UAE and others. Can you give us a sense of how did this come about and what more can be expected in this regard?
Well, certainly here in the UAE, what we've seen over the last 12 hours has been a tiny fraction of what we would usually see here. Now, we've been looking on the Dubai Airport's website, and it appears as though 24 flights have managed to take off. But these are flights with people needing to be repatriated that had tickets already, or potentially just repositioning the planes. There is definitely no sense that the air space is completely opened or that flights are back to normal. And certainly in Abu Dhabi, we've been seeing very little coming out of the airport. There are obviously tens of thousands who are trying to leave the country at this point and would like to get on these flights. The US State Department has said that all Americans should depart now. But of course, that is far easier said than done when you consider the situation on the ground.
And for how long does the US believe Iran will continue to or have the capacity to attack these Gulf nations?
They haven't been clear about that at this point. When we've been listening to President Trump, to the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, they're talking about how long they believe their part in this war might last. They've been speaking of 4 to 5 weeks. They've then said that it is impossible to be able to put a timeline on it. Of course, there are questions as to how long Iran can keep up this retaliation to the Gulf states themselves. We have heard from the IRGC that they are now going to be targeting American political centres. So they're expanding their target base from beyond the military targets, although it has to be said, it's not just military targets that are being hit. We've seen here in Dubai, hotels, city centres, airports, energy infrastructure being hit.
And what is the kind of reaction or sentiment that has evoked on ground in cities like Dubai, Doha, others? Because as you mentioned, it's not just US assets or military assets, it's also civilian areas under heavy attack.
Despite being in the Middle East, the Gulf nations have always felt this bubble of security. They have felt that they had this oasis of safety that has been completely and utterly pierced by these Iranian missiles and drones. These are not countries that are accustomed to having this level of military attack, despite living in a tough neighborhood. So the defense systems appear to be working well. Certainly here in the UAE, we know that well over 90% of the hundreds of missiles and drones that are incoming have been intercepted. But of course, for residents on the ground, it is a very worrying time. There's a shelter-in-place warning, many people taking that warning very seriously. Schools are virtual. People, in many cases, are not going to work. They're working from home. The officials just want people to be off the streets.
Yeah. And lastly, Paula, what is the U.S. response and word on the ground over its embassy in Riyadh getting attacked, and any action that has been precipitated because of that on ground?
Yeah, so this follows 2 suspected drones that caused a small fire at the U.S. embassy in Saudi. Now, we know that the Saudi Arabian embassy in Riyadh, we know in Kuwait, those 2 embassies have now been closed because of the attacks in Kuwait on Sunday and on Monday. There were intercepted drones or missiles very close to the vicinity of the embassy as well. And now you have the Iranian officials saying that they are expanding their targets, not just military targets now from the US, but US political centres. Clearly, they are going to have to reassess the embassies across the Gulf.
All right. Paula Hancock, thanks a lot for joining us live from Dubai, one of those cities that have, of course, borne possibly the biggest brunt of the Iranian retaliatory strikes, joining us live from Dubai from CNN. Let's also get you a quick confirmation of those US bases that have been attacked across the Gulf countries. Now, one of the reasons Iran has been very hostile to these countries, despite expectations, is because they do have US military bases, and that has never gone down well with Iran. So they've attacked the Erbil base as far as Iraq is concerned. This is a key hub for US operations against ISIS, of course, and other regional intelligence gathering. There is the Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. This is a strategic staging ground for US forces in the Gulf, hosting logistics and airlift operations. The US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain was one of the first ones to get attacked. This is a command center for naval operations in the Persian Gulf, protecting shipping lanes and regional security. The UAE base is the Al Dhafra Air Base, also very, very important as far as this base is concerned. This hosts US air assets, including reconnaissance and tanker aircraft for regional missions. And then, of course, is the base in Qatar, the Al Udeid Air Base, major command and control center housing bombers, fighters and support units for operations across the Middle East. So far, of course, there is no permission to the US to use these bases. And even that hasn't changed, at least officially. But the presence of these US bases means that they have come under attack from Iran, regardless of the fact that these may be in countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE. Let's also go across to some of our guests who are joining us. Anil Trigunayat is former diplomat. Yossi Kuperwasser is Israeli intelligence and security expert. Tom Cooper, military analyst, will be with us. But first up, I want to go across to Adrian Fontanelles, who's the military analyst and historian, also with us. Lieutenant General KGS Dillon will be with us in just a bit. But Adrian, your sense of just how long these countries would be able to endure these missile and drone attacks from Iran. So far, they're not really saying anything publicly too much. There doesn't seem to be any great pressure being piled on US and Israel. But something must be going on behind the scenes, right?
Absolutely. So for them, pressure is mounting because so far you have to, as a rule of the thumb, you have to understand that perhaps only 1 out of 10 missiles and drones launched by the Iranians are actually reaching their targets. But they are spending their anti-aircraft and anti-ballistic missiles at a very, very fast pace, and they do not have infinite stocks of such weapons. So the stocks are diminishing, and once they are ended, it means the majority of Iranian munitions will actually reach their targets, which means much more damages than what it is actually done.
Patience can sometimes be the name of the game. Lieutenant General KGS Dillon, I'm coming to you with this. Some estimates suggest that there were about 2,500 to 3,000 missiles that Iran had stockpiled. And if they go by the kind of pace that they're going at right now, all of this could be over by Monday. What happens from there on?
Good afternoon, ma'am, and good afternoon to the fellow panelists and all your viewers. The way war is going, the war is going to get into an attrition phase. You know, when I say attrition phase, that means it's going to be a long haul. And any country which is involved in warfare or which is engaged in war will not allow their defense stockpiles or their weapon systems to just get to zero levels. They have the reserves at all levels, and they would make sure, even after the air defense is decimated, even after everything on ground has been decimated, they still will have certain, even shoulder-fired anti-aircraft guns and also other type of shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles and other missiles, which, which they would continue to engage the incoming aircrafts as also the targets which appear. Yes, the intensity of engagement will go down, but at no stage they would have that zero balance of missiles. That is how it works, and thereafterward will start the attrition warfare.
So can I ask
just
you?
To give an
yes, go ahead.
Just to give you an example of attrition warfare, suppose everything has been all electronic systems, all command and control elements, all networks, all missile sites, all air defense has been downed by US and Israel. Thereafterwards, a particular fighter with a shoulder-fired Stinger or a missile, anti-aircraft missile on a mobile moves from place A to place B without even a mobile on his body. How do you intercept him? Whereas he can intercept the incoming aircraft. So that is where I say it is going to get into an attrition warfare, and that is when the cost of war is going to get heavier on the American and Israeli side and lesser on the Iranian side. Unless you put boots on the ground and, you know, occupy the territory and control the territory, which doesn't seem to be a very viable option, because given the extent and the magnitude of the terrain, starting from deserts to the seacoast to the mountains, I don't think Americans have those many boots on ground, or they can put those many boots on ground to control each and every inch of ground. So it's going to be a long haul, and the war has entered into an attrition phase. And maybe at subsequent question, we can discuss, did America go in with the end state in mind and an exit strategy in mind, or are they now thinking about it?
You know, we've been discussing that, General, since morning, especially because we heard from at least 3 layers of the US government speak through last evening and last night. But we're getting more updates now coming in. Dubai authorities are warning social media influencers and residents not to film, record or share videos related to certain incidents, particularly those involving security-sensitive incidents like the explosions that have taken place. They are saying firing, which is anti-aircraft fire, missile interceptions or related smoke and fire from recent regional escalations should not be recorded and posted online. TikTok violations can lead to strict legal action, including deportation for expatriates, fines and other penalties. Of course, I want to go across in our newsroom to our colleague also, who will get us a little bit more on this, because this is obviously always a tricky issue as far as all governments is concerned. When a lot of information is flowing, possibly not all verified, but it leads to a whole narrative being built online against countries and what is happening. My colleague Greha is also joining us here with us. Greha, what more are you learning?
Hi Shivani. So we've just played out that reaction, and this is what Dubai is suggesting, UAE particularly. Any kind of social media post, video, because people are so used to, in this day and age of social media, they are so used to documenting everything that they are saying. What they are suggesting is that the use of word firing is being misused. What they are doing is any kind of fire that they probably are witnessing, they are using that word, and that is being misrepresented on social media.
As if it is active fire.
Yeah, so they're talking about anti-aircraft firing or probably some interceptions. All of that has been put under this branch of firing, which is what they do not want. And they are saying that this is going to lead to severe penalties. It could also lead to deportation of the expatriate, for that matter, also heavy fines that they are talking about. All of this because it's the first ever attack that Dubai has seen. It has a huge number of the diaspora there, and they want to ensure that no kind of heft is given to all of the aggressors, and that is why they are ensuring that there is fair amount of capping on any kind of social media that is readily being put out as far as these videos are concerned. In fact, this is one post that I also like to put out on camera. This has also been said, public prosecution says completely here that any person who shares or reports content from unknown sources shall be subject to legal accountability. So they're taking it very, very seriously. They don't want any kind of negative impact after these attacks really have taken place.
There have been some reactions, thank you Greha, online as well, of those who live in Dubai plus other some of the more prosperous Gulf countries and cities, is that there is a lot of panic being spread because of some of the social media commentary versus what they may be witnessing on ground. So yes, certainly some of the drones and missiles have landed. The success rate can be anywhere between 90 to 95% or maybe a little bit higher as well. But even when a couple of things drop, then it creates a lot of hysteria. But a lot of residents who are still there saying yes, they can hear a lot of sounds, yes, a lot is going on, but they don't, it's not as if everything is falling and everything is being destroyed or the lives are in much, much danger. Let's also get you some more breaking updates now coming in. Defense Minister of Israel, Israel Katz, has said that the IDF's move to advance to southern Lebanon is now intended to prevent direct fire on Israeli communities. He has further added, and I quote, "The IDF continues to operate forcefully against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The terrorist organization is paying and will pay a heavy price for the fire forward from Israel." Sanjay Suri, my colleague, is in Israel, and we know of this second front that Israel is dealing with. Hezbollah fired a few shots at them, and since then Israel has announced that they're going to go all out against Hezbollah now. What more are you picking up, Sanjay?
This is very clear that it's Hezbollah that has broken the agreement. This was an agreement put in place in November of 2024, and it was an agreement brokered by France and the US, and it was intended to bring some sort of calm to the border. The way it was done was that in the north of Israel, what is called a blue line was drawn. The Israeli forces would stay south of that. Above that, north of that, is a buffer zone policed by a UN force and by the government of Lebanon. Above that is almost parallel is the Litani River, and Hezbollah would stay beyond that. Now, the other agreement was that Hezbollah would not attack Israel or its forces or its population at any stage, and that is an agreement that Hezbollah clearly has broken. This was in response to its, as it said, its shock and anger over the killing of Khamenei. Therefore, that being broken, Israel has in turn hit back. It's hit back Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. And we have to say that the government of Lebanon, as separate from Hezbollah, is not entirely in control of what Hezbollah gets up to. So while the government of Lebanon can make an agreement and offer assurances, there's no certainty how effective these can be. So with Hezbollah now out of the control of the government of Lebanon practically, Israel is now launching an offensive to not necessarily and immediately a ground offensive, but certainly some sort of rocket fire, missile fire. We've seen that already. And this is aimed to take out Hezbollah targets. If it remains confined to aerial attacks and missile attacks on selected Hezbollah targets, then the matter could end there. It's very possible it can spill over into something very much more if Israel were to choose a ground offensive into Lebanon to take out Hezbollah.
Right. Sajid, stay with us. I want to go across to Yossi Kuperwasser, who's an Israeli intelligence and security expert. How do you look at all of these fronts that the Israelis are confronted with, and the response from the defense minister? He had said this yesterday as well, of course, that the Hezbollah is marked and their leadership is marked, and the IDF now continuing to operate forcefully against them in targets in Lebanon. They will pay a heavy price for all the fire that they have launched.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for having me. I think that what we are witnessing is a historical time. We have to make sure that we finish this job and get rid of the Iranian terrorist regime, and at the same time take care of Hezbollah and make sure that it is disarmed, that Lebanon regains control of the monopoly over the use of power from its territory. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and even the Lebanese government was criticizing the Hezbollah for what they did, and realizing that this is the cause for which Israel is now taking steps against Hezbollah that may harm Lebanese as well.
So is the Israeli government now talking about some sort of a ground forward movement? He's suggesting that this move to advance into southern Lebanon is intended to prevent direct fire on Israeli communities. This changes a little bit of the nature of the war so far.
Yeah, this is a limited move on the ground, because some of the Israeli villages along the border are totally under the threat of the direct fire from Hezbollah because of the way the topography is. So we need to move a little bit in order to protect them. But it's something that is just a part of something much wider. We conducted many attacks in Beirut and other places in Lebanon farther from the border in order to clarify to Hezbollah and to the Lebanese government that shooting at us in this context is totally unacceptable. And this move on the ground is limited in nature.
Okay, limited in nature, on ground, but certainly Israel has suggested that they're going to go all out when it comes to eliminating all of these threats is concerned. I also want to bring in Mr. Trigunayat, the former Indian diplomat, joining us. In all of this, sir, one thing is very clear: this is not getting over anytime soon.
That is true. In fact,
sir, I'll come back to you in just a minute. I'll come back to you in just a minute. Sorry for interruption. We've got some new images coming in, satellite images showing the damage at Iran's Natanz nuclear site. Remember, this is where US and Israel carried out fresh strikes on this facility, different from the ones that were conducted last year. This happened this weekend. According to Mohammad Islami, Tehran's atomic energy chief, they had also confirmed that the Natanz facility was indeed hit. So what is the satellite imagery capturing? This is Sunday versus Monday. So you can see some of the impact as far as the roof is concerned. I beg your pardon, this is January 2025 versus March 2026. But that is the full facility that is marked, and you can see at least the one from March 2026. You can see that the entire roof has been completely decimated. So this shows you the impact on the facility, the aftermath of the attack on the Natanz nuclear complex. We've got some more updates coming in. US Embassy in Israel is now telling its citizens that they cannot help them in evacuation. The US Embassy in Israel saying to Americans who may be in Israel that they cannot be helped right now as far as evacuations are concerned. This is the embassy in Jerusalem. They have said and I quote, not in position to help in evacuations, and Americans must make their own arrangements as far as these evacuations are concerned. Before we go across to Sanjay Suri as well, my colleague who's actually in Israel, at least one of the fronts of this war, I want to go across to my colleague Crispin, who's also joining us with more on this. In fact, let me go across to my colleague Haim, who's also here with us. Haim, this is one of those warnings that has come in from the American embassy. Not the first time the American embassy has told them that, you know, we're not going to be able to help you in the evacuations.
Right, and that as well, and also we're getting these latest satellite images that show, if we could just zoom in here, please, that show the damage at Iran's Natanz nuclear site. This, as we're given to understand, that the United States and Israel has carried out 2 fresh strikes. Remember, these are the pictures of March 2026 right now. Just zoom in here, please. This shows the damage that this facility has sustained. Also important to note that Natanz is one of the 3 facilities which the United States has also targeted in its Operation Midnight Hammer, which we saw last year.
As well. Let's also focus on the news that we're getting right now. U.S. Embassy in Israel, in Jerusalem, telling American citizens that we cannot evacuate you right now. You must make your own arrangements. I'm not sure if Sanjay Suri is still with us. I think we should go across to him. Yes, Sanjay, your thoughts on what's transpiring? Are there very many Americans there in Jerusalem and Israel overall? And why is it that the American embassy is saying they're not in a position to evacuate them just yet? How many of them are suspecting to be wanting to get out of the country immediately?
Well, as it happens, about half an hour back, I was speaking with an American lady who is here, and she says she doesn't even sleep on the bed. She sleeps on the floor in the shelter, and she wants to get back. She's feeling unwell. She doesn't know how to go. There are no flights out. And there are many like her, and there's a number of U.S. visitors to Israel at any given time. It certainly would be in several thousands, and there's nowhere to go. Most certainly, an American today in Israel can't go and seek refuge in Gaza. So where does anyone go, American or not? You can't really go into Gaza or go into the West Bank towards the north of Israel or within Israel, depending on how you look at it. It can't be Egypt. Certainly, it can't be Lebanon. That leaves land routes, perhaps through Jordan. This is all very tricky. It's logistically difficult. It's very difficult for the U.S. now, given its many commitments, to now undertake or even offer a program like this, some sort of a relief and rescue program for its citizens out of Israel. So we have some very plain speech from the U.S. that they can't do anything about this.
All right, Sanjay, stay with us. We've got some more breaking updates coming in. Now, an earthquake of magnitude 4.3 has rocked Iran's Gerash area. The tremor comes even as there is this intense conflict playing out in the region. There are coordinated military strikes going on in Iran and also by Iran against US and Israeli assets. And in all of this, there's a tremor to the magnitude of 4.3 that has been reported from Iran's Gerash area. Sanjay, you know, this is, of course, in some ways can pile on the misery on the innocent civilians. As of now, we don't have any reports of how much damage this could have caused, but 4.3 earthquake is also capable of causing damage on ground.
Most certainly, and the earthquake certainly has picked its moment, but this does raise other fears, and these are fears not that you and I will raise, but the International Atomic Energy Agency has raised, that there must be a stop to attack on nuclear facilities, whether by the Iranians on facilities within the Arab world, and there are several facilities there, or the other way around, an attack on nuclear facilities within Iran. We've been speaking about, you were just informing us about the attack on Natanz. If there were to be damage to the nuclear material stored there, and Isfahan particularly is reported to have a great deal of uranium stored within. And if these hits were to hit at that kind of
nuclear material and fissile material located in those areas, the consequences could be unimaginable. And if the IA has said that we could, in that case, in that scenario, be looking at evacuation of whole cities and even whole areas. This is the IAEA saying it.
Right.
There are warnings of the consequences of this and we hope that this is just an earthquake and no worse.
Adrian is with me. Adrian, do you suspect there could be more to this, this earthquake, these tremors being felt because of the nuclear facilities being targeted by US and Israel as well?
Impossible to know because there are also regular tremors such as this in Iran. So I would say it is too early to try to come into any firm conclusion in this regard.
But your concerns overall of what the International Atomic Energy Agency is also saying, plus what US and Iran already have confirmed that they are going for those, whatever is remaining of those nuclear sites. How concerning is this?
It is concerning because we don't know exactly what it is inside these nuclear storage sites. And if you begin to have leaks, radioactive material which can be leaked on the outside, this could be actually a very, very dangerous situation for most of the civilian populations living around their sites. So.
Well, let's just get you a sense, though, of just how advanced Iran's nuke program is. And US has made no two bones about the fact that they believed that Iran was reaching a capacity from which it could have been a point of no return for US and Israel. They couldn't have stopped them after that point. So they absolutely needed to do this. But there are other things the US has also said, so there's a bit of a confusion. So the enrichment program, approximately 441 kilograms of uranium has been enriched to 60%. Over 9,000 kilograms total enriched uranium mass is the stockpile. The challenge is that the uranium needs 90% enrichment to be used as a nuclear weapon, and the existing stockpile is enough for at least 10 nuclear devices. This is what the watchdog's estimate is. Now, the confusion only is exactly at what stage of this enrichment is Iran in. Whether it was only at 60%, as the original estimate said, whether they had reached greater numbers, 70, 80%, how much of it has been taken to 80%. All of these were really the question, which is why US and Israel believe they absolutely critically had to attack. But what the US has also accepted is that they knew Israel was going to attack, so they had no other option but to join in because they knew US assets will come under attack. This is exactly the statement by Secretary Rubio, which has been used by the Foreign Minister of Iran, Araghchi, to say, see, you fell for Israel first policy. You have been pulled into a willful war that you needn't have been part of. And this is, of course, something that has become a big bone of contention as well. So the big issue right now is nobody really has a very clear sense of exactly where Iran was in its nuclear program, enrichment program. US says that they were not getting satisfactory responses from Iran of abandoning this program. But other sources indicate otherwise as well. An important aspect of this action in Iran and the elimination of Ayatollah Khamenei is also how the women of Iran feel and have reacted. Let's get you some of the reactions from around the world. Iran's women's national football team made headlines after not singing the national anthem during their Asian Cup opener against South Korea, a gesture widely being viewed as quiet defiance. All of the players on the pitch, even those who were part of the support staff, coach, etc., none of their lips were moving. They were not singing the national anthem as generally you would expect athletes to do when they are on ground. There were smiles all around, maybe even wry smiles, but no one was singing the national anthem. And many have read this into as the quiet resistance, especially by the women of Iran. Beyond the field, women across the Iranian diaspora have been reacting strongly to the development following Khamenei's death. Rita Pinahi is a Sky News Australia host who escaped Iran as a child. She delivered a scathing message to Khamenei after he was killed in the Israeli strikes. All I have to say is that after 47 years of Islamist tyranny, she says, the dictator is dead and Iran is on the verge of being liberated. Never thought I would see the day in my lifetime, she added. She also used a few choicest words for Khamenei on air in live presentation. This is one of the messages that has gone viral since.
I want to conclude this editorial with this message to the late Supreme Leader. Pedar sag, khak be saret, besuz to Jahannam. Rowan.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Rita. James, don't you agree? I mean,
little bit of gibberish Persian.
I don't have anything more to add to that. That's it.
Only repeat one part of what she said. She said, burn in hell to the deceased former supreme leader. Now, a widely shared image of a young Iranian woman using a burning portrait of Supreme Leader Khamenei to light a cigarette had gone viral as a symbol of defiance in Iran's latest protests in January. And now, the same woman was seen cheering the news of Khamenei's death as announced by Trump. There were large-scale celebrations, in fact, in Canada, where she is, with men and women of Iran alike coming out on the streets in a concert-like atmosphere, singing and dancing. This is another prominent Iranian activist now based in USA who showed her feelings over the news. Just listen in.
Every morning I wake up reading that my people being killed by Ali Khamenei, but this is the first morning in my life that I get the good news and I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. I want to just run. I want to just run and shout and shout and shout out of joy, out of joy, out of joy, out of joy.
Ali Khamenei is dead! Free Iran! Free Iran! Dictator Ali Khamenei is dead!
This is another video of a woman who couldn't control her tears over the news of Khamenei's killings.
Ali Khamenei!
Khamenei is dead! Farzad Khamenei is dead! Khamenei is dead!
And look at these visuals of Iranians and others in a celebratory march in LA in USA, praising President Donald Trump and dancing on the streets with posters of Trump and Netanyahu. This was, again, a carnival-like atmosphere in many cities in USA. In fact, in many places in America, the Trump dance has gone viral as well. This was YMCA, of course, playing. And for many in India, the contrast isn't lost on anyone. While women around the world, not just Iranian women, but of all nationalities, celebrated Khamenei's killing, women in India, and particularly in Jammu and Kashmir, were seen wailing and crying over his death. What more can we say?